today has been quite a day. So, as I think, the last video I uploaded mentioned UPS. So yeah, there are a couple more weeks of that. So hopefully I can get back to more regular stuff since I've also moved locations. But there might be a lot of people out there interested in some speedrun stats for package parcel delivery. And so you know what? Why not? I mean, we speedrun everything else. Why not parcel delivery? And I mean, it can also play a part into other things down the road too. So that'll be fun. But yes. So I think one of the biggest ones is to kind of, if you don't have enough space for like the packages that you have or the deliveries you have, kind of chunk it out into spaces. It's kind of like any other speed run. You kind of like take it in pieces, and like you'll usually have those checkpoints that you're optimizing for certain pieces, but then there's some things that'll lend itself to making it quicker later on down the road. So by chunking it out into like sections and areas, then you make it easier to manage. And when it's easier to manage, it's a lot easier to get it done quickly. So like if you've got like a townhouse area that covers like a block area that you could easily wrap around, maybe you start and do some of those first. Or if you've got a neighborhood that, your whole thing basically kind of goes in a loop and you're just doing like a few blocks in that loop, then yeah, you can get away with snaking around inside that loop. But with you kind of chunk it out like that, and maybe you prioritize businesses if that applies. So you go and do the business one, so those are taken care of, so you don't have to worry about taking anything back, because no one wants to have any non-delivered packages on their watch. So you take care of the ones that need to be delivered earlier, as well as chunking it out so that you can get stuff in a more manageable state. Another thing is sometimes when you're looking at the way that they organize it, whoever it is, it's not always optimal. So sometimes once you figure out the area, you make those tweaks. Kind of like any other speedrunner, they're pretty familiar with the game or the route that they're working with. So it's exactly the same deal. You work with it and then route it out so that you optimize it rather than relying wholly on a computer algorithm to route it out for you. So you could for example, if you have two houses that are right next to each other, rather than having to stop in front of the one, deliver your load, stop in front of the other, and deliver the other load, you stop in between the two and deliver the loads between the two of them, so that it's only one stop, but you're taking care of two locations at the same time. So that would make it a bit quicker because you're not wasting time moving forward and this, that, and the other. And if they're right next to each other and really close and the packages are small enough, you can just pick up both packages and just bring them both without ever having to go and pick up the other one. And it kind of applies the same way in townhouses or apartments, where whether it's a building or where it's a building where they're all squished together, if you take multiple of them and just kind of like string them across, if you can get away with that, then that'll optimize your routing even further and get you done quicker. So you could have like a whole apartment complex done in an hour or less and feel pretty good about it once you've figured out how the apartment complex is laid out and everything else. The next thing is you kind of want to adjust for weather conditions, because sometimes weather conditions can mess you up. So when you're driving or moving around, you optimize your speed and levels of everything for the weather, because the weather RNG isn't always that nice. So if you can, sometimes slowing down is in your best interest so that you don't go sliding off into nowhere and end up losing time because you don't have control. It's better to have control than to go fast. Also which also lends to walking conditions. You've got to be careful with your conditions, because if it's too snowy, you could risk slipping if you're running around, which can take off some time off of it if you fall down, because you have to pick yourself back up and then make sure that you didn't damage anything. Let's see, we had manageable chunks, routing out. Yeah, once you're familiar, it makes it easier to kind of figure out what goes where too. So that's one thing. Oh, the only problem that you really run into as well is not every day is going to be the same. Because if you had the exact same spots every day, then you could reliably, well, even more reliably, cut your time down. But the problem is that package RNG isn't always nice to you. So when you're banking on having that good package RNG, it doesn't always go in your favor. So sometimes you have to work around that, because sometimes your package RNG gives you like multiple big packages in one area that you would have chunked out on its own. But since you have like all those big packages, you have to make 2 trips. But that also means that those 2 trips combined could still also be shorter, because sometimes those larger packages make up for more stops on the smaller packages. So when you're also doing it, sometimes if you leave the larger packages for later, it can be a bit quicker because you've taken out all the smaller ones, out of the way. Or you can do it the other way around. So you take the larger packages and route those out. I'm not sure how it would work out if you routed all the big packages out and then did all the smaller packages in one load. Because depending on how your car is set up, could also mean that you lose a package or 2, which can be bad for a good run. So sometimes that can take off some speed add some time to your clock, because you're trying to search around for that missing package that slipped around. So if you optimize your package placement such that you keep all your smaller packages in one area where you can easily see them, then it makes it that much quicker, which also lends to organizing your packages inside of your vehicle in such a way that you can pretty quickly look, scan, and go. So when you pick up a package, when you stop somewhere, you want to be able to pick out all the packages in the area that you're stopping so that you don't have to make so many trips or spend too much time rooting around for that one missing package. And sometimes you end up losing it anyway, and it isn't all that bad to have to go back, but it can clock down some time on you depending on which area it was in that you had to go back to. So it's preferable that when you go back around, it's in an area that you're working on currently, rather than having to go back later on in order to pick it up. But if you route it out just right, you can make it so it's on the way back to pick up your next load. And the only other thing that you'd have to look out for is package shift RNG, which means that as you're driving, if you're not too careful, and even depending on road conditions, the packages will shift and settle around. So you end up with some packages going out of order, out of the order that you set them in. So you've got to look out for that, and hopefully you can keep track of like where they are. You've optimized the placement in such a way that you minimize that shift so that you can still quickly find them and get in and out very quickly. Anyway, I think that's all of those optimizations for anyone that's looking to speedrun package delivery. If you want to suggest other strategies that would work for that, you can leave a comment, feed the algorithm, or join the Discord and scream at me there. This may be applicable, very, very applicable later on for certain things as I brainstorm other ideas, and come January, hopefully I can make it work out. But I will see you all later.